You ever have one of those mornings where the universe just decides to slap you across the face before you've had your second sip of coffee? Yeah, that was me standing in my doorway, still clutching a dripping paintbrush, when Gwendolyn Harlow, the queen of the HOA, looked me dead in the eye and declared, "This is community property." Now, I swear those 5 words hit harder than the worst hangover I've ever had. And just like that, the lake cabin my aunt left me, my sanctuary, was apparently open for business, tourist tours and all. No warning, no asking, just her on my porch, flanked by 5 strangers, all expecting me to hand over my keys and step aside like I was nothing more than the doormat on my own front step. Let me back up a sec because this mess didn't start out ugly. That morning had been everything Sunday mornings are supposed to be. Quiet. Soft light pouring over my half-finished illustration at the drawing table, kids' book stuff, a fox in the woods, that sort of thing. The lake was glass. My coffee was still hot. The place smelled like wood paint and that weird lavender sachet my aunt always tucked behind the door. This cabin, it was her safe place before it was mine. And sitting there, pencil in hand, I understood why she left it to me. That's when the knock came. No, not a knock, more like a SWAT team trying to rattle the hinges off. 3 heavy booms, a pause, 3 more. Who does that at 8 a.m. on a Sunday? So I open the door expecting Landon from next door. Maybe he needs to borrow a wrench again. Instead, there's Gwendolyn, cream blazer, a smile that could cut glass, and 4 tourists grinning behind her like they just checked into a 5-star resort. "Good morning, Callum. I'm bringing our guests through for the heritage tour. Just unlock the door. We'll be quick, promise." She says it like my only option is to smile and get out of the way. One tourist is already scoping out my living room. Another's holding up her phone, probably dreaming up a #LakeHouseLife Instagram post. I stood there trying to process what she'd just said, a heritage tour of my home, my bedroom, my memories, all without my permission. I tried to keep it friendly, but my heart was pounding. Sorry, there must be some mistake. I never agreed to any tour. This is private property. Her smile never faltered, but I could see her eyes shift, just for a split second, annoyance flashing underneath that Stepford wife charm. "It's the new HOA program, Callum. Your cabin's got historical significance. You should support the initiative. It's good for everyone." Her voice oozed reason like only an idiot would disagree. Now the tourists are all looking at me impatient like I'm holding up the show. I felt the pressure like I was suddenly the bad guy at my own front door. But I didn't move. "I'm sorry. I need my privacy. I can't have strangers walking through my house. I'm working." My words sounded weak even to me, like I was apologizing for locking my door. Gwendolyn's smile sharpened. "Are you really going to make this difficult for the HOA?" she said, pitching her voice just loud enough for her audience. "We're building community here and you're being uncooperative. You know what I mean?" The tourists shifted. One woman looked away, but I could feel it. The judgment, the collective sigh. I was the selfish millennial, the troublemaker. So I held my ground. "I'm not making anything difficult. I just want to protect what's mine." And that was it. Her smile vanished. She stepped back, raised her voice for the peanut gallery. "Young people today, so selfish. This is exactly what's killing community spirit." She shook her head all dramatic and led her pack away, muttering about entitled youth. As they walked down the path, one tourist snapped a picture of my house, like it was already a museum piece. I closed the door. Locked, it stood in the silence, heart pounding. I hadn't done anything wrong, but somehow I felt guilty. I couldn't draw. I couldn't even drink my coffee. All I could do was stand at the window watching them point and take photos of my life. That's when I realized this wasn't over. I pulled out my phone, wrote everything down. Sunday, 8:15 a.m. Gwendolyn tourist demanded entry, called me selfish. Something was off. The way she looked at me, that confidence, that assumption I'd roll over. It wasn't about the community at all. It was about power. about Gwendolyn proving she could take what she wanted just because she wore a blazer and had a clipboard. I stared at the old brass lock my aunt used to polish every spring and felt at the weight of being targeted. 3 days later, the first letter arrived. HOA logo embossed thick paper, all official. Violation of Regulation 47. Failure to cooperate with Community Tourism Initiative. Fine $500. Failure to comply within 7 days will result in escalation to $2,000 and potential suspension of property use rights. Signed, Gwendolyn Harlow, in her neat looping script. I read it 3 times, hands shaking. I'd never heard of any Regulation 47. 2 years living here, nothing about forced tourism in the bylaws. I dug out the HOA rules, combed through every page. Regulation 46 was about docks. 48 was tree removal. No 47. I checked again. Nothing. So I called the HOA office, tried to keep it cool. Hi, this is Callum Thorne from Unit 17. I got a violation for Regulation 47, but can't find it in my copy. Could you send me the official text? The secretary stalled. Let me check with Mrs. Harlow. She's out right now. Yeah, sure. I knew I'd never get an answer. So 2 days later, I drove down to the office, marched in, handed her the letter. I want to see the official text of Regulation 47. Gwendolyn didn't blink. That's the updated version, passed at last month's general meeting. My anger started boiling. I never got any notice of a meeting. She just leaned back, all condescending. You've missed quite a few meetings, Callum. If you're not involved, you can't expect to be kept in the loop. That's your responsibility. She acted like I was the one in the wrong just for wanting transparency. But I pushed back. I want the meeting minutes and the vote count. Her mask slipped. Are you questioning the integrity of this HOA? That's a serious accusation. Be careful. The air felt cold, her meaning clear. She walked to the door, dismissal. We'll look into it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I left shaking, furious, determined. This wasn't about bylaws. This was about control, and now I was challenging it. That night, I started digging through state law. Turns out any change to HOA rules requires written notice to all homeowners 15 days before a vote. No notice, no change. I checked all my mail and email, nothing. So if Regulation 47 even existed, it was illegal. I started a spreadsheet logging every interaction, every threat, every date. I wasn't letting this go. 5 days later, the second letter hit, fine raised to $2,000, threat of losing property use. I stared at it, sick to my stomach. For what? For saying no. That's when I called Desmond Walsh, property lawyer. Explained everything. He said, don't pay that fine. Simple as that. The next Saturday, I felt it at the farmer's market, the shift. People wouldn't meet my eyes. The tomato lady counted my money twice, looked uncomfortable. Heard you're having trouble with the HOA, she whispered. Just a misunderstanding, I said, but I could tell she didn't buy it. Landon, my neighbor, wouldn't even say hi. The market was full of whispers and side-eye. That afternoon, I checked the community message board, Gwendolyn's handiwork. It's unfortunate when personal selfishness gets in the way of progress. Our lake deserves better. 63 likes. Comments calling me entitled, antisocial, maybe even a criminal. She hadn't named me, but everyone knew. She'd turned the community against me without ever saying my name. The next violation arrived by courier, legal consent form for seasonal tours signed by me, except the signature was a forgery. The C was too careful, not the fast, sharp one I use. I called Desmond right away. Don't touch it. That's evidence of a crime. Bring it in. Fraud, he said. This was getting serious. That night, Gwendolyn called, sweet as pie at first. Why don't you come by the office tomorrow? Let's work this out. But I wasn't buying it. You forged my signature. The warmth vanished. Be careful what you accuse me of. Slander is serious. You're already isolated. Don't make it worse. She hung up. That's when I knew it was war. Days blurred. Neighbors avoided me. Gwendolyn posted a photo of my cabin caption, "History belongs to everyone. When selfishness blocks progress, we all lose." 87 comments. People wanted me out. Then came a letter from a law firm I'd never heard of threatening to sue for interfering with community business. I searched the firm. Didn't exist. Just another scare tactic. Desmond said, "That's criminal intimidation. They're escalating because you're standing up," he asked. "How far are you willing to go?" Litigation. Public fight. I remembered my aunt, the way she wanted me to protect this place. "I'm prepared," I told him. I went to the government office, filed a formal records request for HOA meeting minutes. If Regulation 47 existed, there'd be paperwork. If not, she'd lied. For the first time, I felt hope. That night, though, the loneliness hit hard. I pulled out my aunt's photo album, her by the dock, smiling hand on the brass lock. She trusted me with this. I couldn't walk away. And then twist. Sutton Merrill, former HOA secretary, called. "Can we talk?" We met at a coffee shop. She brought a folder, emails, budget sheets, her notes. There was no general meeting, no vote. Gwendolyn made up Regulation 47. And she's done this before to 3 other families. "I'll testify if you fight." That changed everything. I talked to Landon. He finally admitted Gwendolyn had threatened his family, forced him to donate $1,000. He was ashamed for staying quiet, but promised to stand with me now. Piece by piece, the case built documents, witnesses, forged signatures. Desmond said, "We're ready for a public meeting." The community hall was packed. Gwendolyn presided, calm as a cat and cream, but I took the mic and laid out everything. No Regulation 47, no meeting, no notice, forged signature. The crowd buzzed. Sutton produced the proof, emails, drafts, records. Landon told his story. Other families stood up. The county's HOA rep announced an investigation. All decisions under 47 suspended criminal charges for Gwendolyn. You could feel the power leave her like a switch flipped. She stormed out, and for a beat, the room was still. Then applause. Not everyone, but enough. My hands shook. It was over. Well, not over. There'd be investigations, hearings, but her reign was broken. A week later, official notice, Gwendolyn removed as president, fined $10,000, forced to repay every family criminal case pending. The new HOA board called for transparency, open meetings, clear rules. Margaret, the new president, was nothing like Gwendolyn, fair, open, organized. For the first time in months, people started talking to me again. Landon brought beer and an apology. I should have stood up sooner. I forgave him. Little by little, the walls came down. Refund checks went out to every family who'd been fleeced. Sutton turned down her old job, decided to become a social worker. "You fought for all of us, Callum," she said. I hadn't thought about it that way. I was just trying to keep what was mine. But maybe that's how change works. One person draws a line, others find the courage to stand behind it. A reporter called, wrote a story. No heroics, just the facts. Headline 1, Homeowner Stand Exposes HOA Corruption. It was never just about me. It was about the danger of letting power go unchecked. Funny how fast things change when truth comes out. Some Saturday, a neighbor's kid knocked. "Dad says you know the best fishing spots. Will you show me?" I laughed, grabbed my pole. "Only if you throw back anything smaller than your hand." We stood on the dock, casting lines, the lake silver under the morning sun. For the first time, I felt peace, real peace, in the place I fought so hard to keep. Later, I walked around the cabin, touched the old brass lock, felt the promise in its weight. It wasn't just about fear anymore, or boundaries, or fighting off a bully in a blazer. It was about choice, my choice to open or close, to trust or not. That's freedom right there. The system's not perfect, but now we've got open meetings, published minutes, real accountability. I got asked to join the board. I said no. I'd done my part, someone else could build the new system. Landon did, and I could see how it healed him too. The real lesson. Boundaries matter. Dignity matters. The right to say no matters. Standing up for those things is how you find peace. Justice isn't always loud or fast, but sometimes when you least expect it, you look around and realize you won. So tell me, where's the line for you? What would you do if someone tried to take your boundaries, your home, your dignity? Drop your story below. Let's talk about it. Because justice only works when people are brave enough to say no more.